Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Sunday chat today is really just going to be waffling on, you know, like I do while I do some watering. I've got behind with the watering and we've got sunshine. Well, we had sunshine. As soon as I set the camera up, it went in. But nonetheless, it's a bright day. We had a lot of sunshine yesterday and I didn't water my mounts yesterday. Generally speaking, I did. But I've got a select few that get watered every single day, no matter what. They're the ones with the live moss on. I want my moss to stay alive. The plants would do okay missing a day, they'd be okay. You know, I mean, even in the tropical rainforest, they always say, oh, it rains every day. I bet it doesn't. I bet there's a couple of days when it doesn't. But then everything's soaking wet from the day before, so they're okay. I hope you all enjoyed the GVOS 2020 event. That took off pretty good, didn't it? I was impressed, and I'm pretty sure I found a few people that actually did their first YouTube video as a consequence of that event. Now, going back to the previous big one that again William Green did was the My Orchid collection in 60 seconds. Several people decided to do their first video with their orchids for that event, and they've stayed, quite a few of them. So sometimes these big events just kick a few people into action. You know, they've been umming and ahhing, thinking about it, putting it off, you know, and then an event gives you a trigger, gives you a key to aim at, and I think some people will have joined in. There's a downside and an upside. For me, the more variety in the orchid community, the better. But then it's going to get to the point where I won't say there are too many channels, but there are too many channels for the new ones to ever get going to any great extent. It's difficult to be that special in the orchid community world. It's just orchids at the end of the day, many of which are grown in the home, so similar circumstances. Some people do videos of their greenhouses, totally different. I'm halfway between the two, 1 foot in the house, 1 foot in the grow room. So I'm halfway between the two, but this is more like a greenhouse than a home by far. You know, most houses can't actually get 80% humidity if they want it. And occasionally 95 in the winter when the temperature drops down. So yeah, we got the different environments, but then you've got all the different countries going on where you've got great differences in temperature ranges, day lengths and all that sort of stuff. So there are differences there, and there are some that specialise in things you can't pronounce, things you've never heard of, and they're really unusual and obscure, and that's their thing, that's what they want to do. But then if you're interested in that, those will be some of the channels you'll watch all the time. If you're not interested in those so much, those will be the ones you hardly ever watch. Yeah, so the more there are, the more people will become selective, and it could be a problem for the ones trying to get going and trying to start out, is that there's too many choices. Too many choices, or not. It depends on your viewpoint. So that's that. I thought the event went well. So far, all I've watched is on my subscriptions feed, all the people I'm subscribed to, is obviously all the videos over the last couple of days. They've all got the code on. In amongst them, some people have put some non-event videos up. I don't know whether they're going to get much of a look in. Might have been better to save them up. But yeah, so all I've managed to do so far is watch one of each of my subscribers. Now some people put up half a dozen, some people put up more, some people have got 2 or 3. I've only managed to watch one of each of the channels I've subscribed to, and I tried to remember to leave a comment as well. If I missed you, sorry. But I will get on to that hopefully later today. Most evenings this week I've watched a film, and although they're all totally different films, the action of sitting down and watching a film in front of the computer is now starting to get boring. So perhaps I ought to watch some television for a change and sit in a different chair. But what I might do this evening is just plod through some of these videos and pay them a bit more attention. They deserve the attention. People have put effort in. Some people have put quite a bit of effort into this and thought about it, you know. So it was good stuff. The event went well. It took off in sufficient numbers to make it good. Now, I don't know about the other platforms. I haven't tried finding stuff on Facebook. I got enough to do with my own Facebook group and the sheer number of posts that came in for that event. At one point I signed on, I thought, I'll just have a look and see if there's any more posts. 25! Oh, click, 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 click. It is work, you know, but it's work I enjoy. And for the little bit of work I put in on that Facebook group, an awful lot of people are getting the enjoyment out of it. So the little bit that I put in, I'm willing to do. So yeah, you know, there's a lot on there, but I haven't tried looking around generally on Facebook to see what else happens. There's lots of other Facebook groups that might have got involved, you know, the Orchid Anonymous thing and some of the other channels. They may well have got involved, but I haven't looked. I'm not really going to get the sort of time to do that. And then you've got other platforms like Instagram and things. I bet there's loads of stuff on there. I do have an account, but I've forgotten even how to find it, let alone log in, so I don't use it. I thought it might be a nice idea and then backed out of it quite quickly. Instagram's geared up to using phones. It's designed that way for swiping and doing this sort of stuff on a touch screen. It ain't so good on a computer, it's clumsy. And that's the polite version. So anyway, that was a good event. Now today I'm just going to water the holy clay pots while I'm chatting, and we'll have a look at them because we haven't actually looked at them for a while. Now virtually across the board this is going to be Cattleyas. So it's like a Cattleya update, except for it doesn't include the mounted ones, if you see what I mean. But yeah, that's the idea today. And before somebody asks, they are getting fed. Most of you that know me, I mix my feed up in there. If it's a flush, then I don't need to do that. I'll just have my water out here and put a bit in at a time. But if I've got a mix to do, and that is nothing more than my MSU feed. There's no additives, nothing. I don't use additives on every feed. It's like I've always said, you might like beans on toast, but you probably don't want it every day, every meal. So I do vary my orchids diet. Not a huge amount, but a bit. I'll occasionally put some calcium nitrate in. Occasionally put some magnesium sulfate in. I don't put those two in at the same time. I'll occasionally use CalMag, which is calcium and magnesium and some iron and a bit of nitrogen in the version I've got. And sometimes I'll add a bit of kelp, the seaweed extract. I don't tend to mix and match. It's my basic feed plus an additive. And then the chances are the next time they get fed, they won't get an additive. So I do vary their diet slightly, but not a lot. And for me, this is quite a high level of feed. So it's my MSU feed, and it's going in at about, I think it was 330 parts per million, which is high for me. It's gone over the 300 line. I don't do that very often, except in the Vander bucket. And then that doesn't go much higher than that nowadays. Right, declutter the place. If I've got to get at things, I like to have a clear run, that way I don't knock blooms off, catch things and use the appropriate language, especially as the camera's on. You know, things like, oh blast, I've knocked a bloom off. It's similar. And the other thing I've got that you don't normally see, I got my pen out, and here are 3 labels that go with plants that every time I pick them up I don't know which ones they are. Now I still don't really know which ones they are, but I'm going to try and work it out today on the basis of a process of elimination. One of these has bloomed and the other 2 hasn't. I know one of them definitely, but then I don't know which one of 2 it is. We shall see. And then I've got some spare labels for any that turn up without a label. So by the end of this session, everything in a clay pot should have a label if it hasn't already got one. And that could include going over labels that I can't flip and read anymore. Is it worth it? Let's try it. It's funny, I don't know what happened here. I've got a feeling I might have had 2 pens and threw one away. But one of these Sharpies faded badly. And the labels just went bad on me. Can't read them. So I'm just trying to go over the writing and try and make it not look like double talk. You know what I mean? When you go over something that's not quite right and then you get 2 lots of it. Luckily I know what this one is and can spell it. Right, now at least we can flip and read it. And with these Sharpie pens, I have found that if you store them point downwards and upright, they always write well for you. It's like the ink is there all the time. If you lie them flat, or worse still, store them up the other way, they don't work so good. Right, let's get going. This is my little little lemon drops, crossed with Cattleya Why Not. And what we have here is several directions of growth, which is good stuff. We have a direction of growth here, so previous blooming bulb, previous bulb that bloomed as well, come to think of it. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3 progressed in that direction, the latest one's currently in bloom, and it also headed off in this direction and put up a very strong growth, followed by a not very strong growth that does look like it's going to bloom. And then it's also gone out in this direction at some point. Anyway, this tiny little growth around here that looks like it may bloom, that probably will only have 1 bud or something, is actually producing some roots. And this area around here is starting some new roots too. So this is coming back to life. The roots on this often look dead. And then it has a time of year where they start to branch out and new ones grow. And the sort of root system comes back to life. And then over time it goes back to look like this. I mean, these could be trimmed off. I think these really have gone now. But it's what it does. It's, for this plant, natural. It's probably one of the Cattleyas, given that it's a cross. And goodness knows what's gone into it, all sorts, because it's two hybrids crossed together, and who knows how many hybrids went into either one of those two. So it's quite a complex hybrid, I suspect. And it could just be that it could do with staying a bit wetter and not staying dry so long in between waterings, holding those roots up. Next is BC Meike, that's just finishing its blooming, but at the moment is showing no signs of life around the base, so there's nothing happening. It's not growing roots or new growths, and I don't suspect it will until those blooms come off, which is going to be very soon. I was just going to say I could probably help a couple. They're going to come off very soon. So have we got a label on that? We haven't actually. I don't think I'd ever forget what it is though, because it's the only one that looks like this. But if the goal is to get labels on everything, just as well do it. Who knows, I might get hit by a bus and then somebody else, like my daughter, has to come in and try and sell the collection. And it would help if we knew what they were. Perish the thought, I hear you say. Yeah, well, none of us are invincible or invulnerable. We all have, you think about it, our bodies haven't been made that flipping well. They're pretty flimsy really, aren't they? I just need my towel because I'm going to do some writing. Yeah, we're pretty flimsy. I mean, go and stand next to an upright grizzly bear or polar bear and do, you know, like for like comparison. We're pretty flimsy really, aren't we? Pretty useless in a lot of cases. You look how some of the other creatures on the planet survive in the wild, and how long we would last in some cases. I'd probably last quite a while because I've had some practice, but probably not long term. I managed 3 weeks, nearly 3 weeks actually, not quite. That's BC Maker, isn't it? So that's probably changed its name. I don't care. In here, it's BC Maker. Yes, I managed quite a long time wild, on my own, no resources, and I lasted okay. Well, I wouldn't want to earn a living doing it. Know that for a lark. Right, now this is the first one without a label, and I'm pretty confident that this bloomed on the last growth, but I can't prove it. So this one is either, hang on, let's have a look, we've got another one down there. It's either Harryoniana, which should actually say Harrisoniana, so I've actually written the label wrong, or it's Leopoldii, or it could be Tenebrosa. But there's another one up the back there that's quite a small plant, and I remember putting quite a small plant in a really large pot because in theory it's going to grow huge one day. So that's the Tenebrosa, I'm pretty sure. So I know where that one's got to go, but I still don't know which way round these two are. So I'm not going to bother at the moment, especially as I've written one of them out and spelt the name wrong. Oh, well, that was a nice theory, wasn't it? Now this one has decided to go aerial and climb, and I'm letting it go. Its latest new growth is a good size, good strong new growth here. That will bloom, and the huge bulge at the bottom could be going to shoot out another growth, although I suspect that's just going to be a mass of new roots. Is that what the previous one did? Yes, it did. Yeah, it pushes out and goes quite bulbous underneath on the underside, and then all the roots burst out of that area. That's what it did last time, so that looks like roots will start soon, because again the new growth has pushed on. It's not too far off full height. I'd say 2/3 of the height it's going to get to, and not a sign of a new root yet. So in the root department, this one is totally dormant. Nothing is happening. No root tips growing. A lot of people get worried when Cattleyas do that, and it's normally when they've acquired one that's sort of in good active root growth, which is often when you get them, and then they just stop. And people worry that their roots are dying. They don't very often grow continuously throughout the year. They come in waves, in phases, and it normally coincides with the state of play with the new growth. Now some Cattleyas will chuck that flush of roots out very soon after the new growth starts, and others, the new growth will be virtually mature before you see a sign of a new root. But it will often trigger root growth in other parts of the plant, in older parts. So not just where your new growth is. Now this is the angel heart. This was the front lead, which now has a nice strong growth coming out, which will bloom. It bloomed before, unexpectedly. That was the front end of a division. The back end of the division, which normally I would throw away, but I didn't this time, because there are several people who keep telling me off for wasting good bits of plants that others might want. And then they live on the other side of the world, so they can't have them. But anyway, that's the front end. That's got some nice leaves and a reasonable shape to it, although now it looks quite small. It's only got 3 bulbs and a new growth, but it will bloom nonetheless. And then the other bit is the tatty bit, and this is off to Milan, if I ever get to see him again. Flipping nonsense. I thought this was going to head off in 2 directions. It still may, but at the moment that growth bloomed and has no sign of a new growth, but does have some new roots. This headed off in this direction unexpectedly and put up a blind sheath. but that now has a new growth. So that's the other piece, and it has some very tatty old leaves on it that I strapped together and strapped to a stake to hold the thing upright, which is not necessary now because it's grown its own root system. That was the back end of the plant basically. Two latest growths are short, they're not up to full height. I suspect the next one will be, as it now has a root system. When it was potted it didn't. Being the back end of the plant, all it had was the old tired ones, which promptly failed, but it grew some new ones, so it has got a root system now, so it will push on. It will be fine, as they say. Running out of space over in there. Right, so this one hasn't long gone out of bloom. This is just a hybrid. What's that say on the back? I don't know, it's faded. So that just says Cattleya hybrid, and that's a very old tag because it's yellow. These tags, these are memory jerker for you. Quite a long time ago there was a period on YouTube where there was a rather troubled lady called Rose who was into everybody's channel, loads of comments, did some videos and everything, but she had troubles, and she eventually just disappeared, which when you know somebody is having problems and then they just stop, it's always worrying. But she sent me those, so those are a memory from Rose. I think it was a subtle hint. Yeah, get some labels on your plants, Roger. Yeah, but it was a nice gesture to send those across. But yeah, at that particular time on YouTube, there was a group of about half a dozen people that all chatted to each other, did videos, chatted to each other there, chatted to each other on other people's channels, and were very, very active. And then they all just faded away. That group of people is no longer on YouTube, they're gone. So that's a tatty looking plant, it always will be until it starts to push out. I divided this and sent the good bit to somebody else and kept the tatty bit, but I don't know, it has a nice bloom on it and it's not in my way. You know, if I was shouting out for space, I'd need that gone, but I'm not, so it could stay. Right. Aha! Here's one without a label. Again, I'd never forget what it was, because that's Laelia anceps. But let's do a label for it. Spelt wrong. I'm not in a very righty mood. It's going to sound like a daft expression. That's better, spelt right. Well, that's dry and we'll water it. This has bloomed and is just coming back into growth. Now that would be incredibly good if it did that, but if you look, I don't know how close I can get, if you look at the base of this pseudobulb, the new growth there is reasonably obvious. There's actually an eye on the other side as well. If that pushed out too, I would be over the moon. I doubt if it will. And then the other one that bloomed is this one, and that highly looks like it's going to be out of the pot. It doesn't matter. It's a single plant. Yeah. This growth here, smashing root system down in the pot, and it's even pushing out some roots farther back. So plenty of roots on there. So if the next shoot on here goes aerial, and a lot of the roots hang over the pot, it won't matter because it's all joined up together. And you see what I mean? We've got root growth up here, new root growth at this particular point in time. And we've got root growth branching out from older parts of the plant. Yeah, so that's how they go. You need a bit more water. Yeah, so, you know, when they come into root growth, they seem to push out into the old part of the plant, as well as the new flush to go with whatever stage it's at, with the new growths. As I say, they do vary quite a bit depending on what one you've got. But they'll all have a period where they push out a flush of new roots, and you need to get to know your own plant so that you can plan for repotting at that time. Make sure you've got the stuff, make sure you've got suitable pot, suitable media. Don't miss your chance, because you might not get another one for another year. This plant's getting a bit tatty looking. Borderline needing a repot and a split now, but this one had its rhizome cut in several places and now has several points of growth. None of which are doing it now, because this has just finished blooming, and at this stage it's going to drop a few of its older leaves. That'll tidy it up a bit, and we'll start some new growths, and in theory there should be 3, but none of them have started yet. So this one's resting at the moment, not physically not getting water and all that, but it's not growing, so it's inactive. Finished its blooms, which it did very well, and now it's having a rest. And this is another label that's white on both sides, so it's faded to the point that I can't even read it. And that's how it's going to have to stay at the moment, because although it's just bloomed, I can't remember which one it is, and I can't be bothered to stop and go and look, so I wonder if I can read it. Ah, it's Young Min Orange. That means I can do a new label for it. At least I know what it is. Shouldn't have forgotten that, should I really? Right, that's Cattleya anceps. You go in there. It's the trouble with these holy clay pots. The roots get round the edge of the pot and you can't actually get a label to go in there. Just about. Right, so then we've got orange. What's that one done? Hello, cat. You just woke up. Bleary eyes. Yeah, I got a problem with Elvis. He's become older relatively quickly, and as a consequence, he stays in almost all the time. That has a downside, because I've noticed over the last couple of months he doesn't walk very well. He's just not, doesn't look that stable, as though he's a bit uncomfortable. I thought, well, perhaps he's getting on a bit, perhaps he's got a bit of arthritis or something. He was sat next to me on the computer the other day, and I had one of those hell's bells moments, polite version. His claws are absolutely enormous, and they're not retracting. They've got so big. So he's like walking on toes, tiptoes. I'm thinking it's making him quite uncomfortable. So I've ordered some clippers to clip his nails. You shouldn't have to with cats that go outdoors. I mean, the other one, Mojo, he's fine. He goes out more. But since Elvis started staying in his lot, his claws have done a spurt of growth, and he's not going out to wear them down. So it needs sorting because he's not comfortable. As I say, it looks like he's walking on tiptoes. And now I know why, so I can deal with it. It's typical, isn't it? You get something, you get things on eBay that are not urgent. You just think, oh, I fancy that, and you order it, and it turns up really quick, and you leave some feedback saying fast delivery, marvellous. Now these nail clippers are quite urgent, really, because Elvis is not comfortable walking around. Oh, we'll have a look at this one. This is doing something pretty good. I'm going to drip all over the carpet. We should have looked at it first, shouldn't we? And this has got no label as well, but I'm not writing the label out now because it's got a name 8 foot long. This is the Cattleya Broughtonia cross, yeah? And, I'm going to drip on the carpet now, we have a new growth coming out off the base of this pseudo bulb, down there. We have one coming out of the base of this pseudo bulb, and another one coming out of the base of this pseudo bulb. So actually I got that wrong, it's not that one, it's this one on the end. But we have 3 new growths starting. In theory that means three spikes and 3 sets of blooms down the line. Oh goody, because that was rather attractive. Needs a label, but it's not getting one now. And then we got the last one on this shelf, which is the biggie. And this is my Cattleya purpurata, variety Atropurpurea. Now there was a time when I wouldn't have remembered that. And for once we have sheaths, yeah? So the 2 latest growths have sheaths. There's no sign of buds yet, and I don't know if they will bloom. But at least they stand a chance, and there's the other one round here. Nice big sheath coming out of there. No swelling at the base yet. I'm looking to watch these growths mature. So I'm spinning the plant round there. But if you look at this bulb here, yeah, it's starting to mature. Looking at the shape of the previous bulbs, this is coming up to full maturity now, full height, and its logical width, yeah, and depth. So this is nearly mature now, and then apparently the buds will form after that point. So we may get blooms on that. The base of the plant has no activity whatsoever. It's done all that. Well, actually there are a couple of new roots in there, not many, but some. Because the activity that was at the base was pushing up those 2 nice new growths, and the associated root system at that time. But this is a absolute pot full of roots, this one. Right, there we go. Now I know I've still got some to do, but I'm going to leave it at that because, like I always say, filming slows me down. So even though I haven't got the camera in my hand, talking about the plants is slowing me down, and I've still got a lot to do out here today. All my mounts, the rest of these, and I need to look at the cooler, shadier types to see if they need watering. I'm not sure they will. You know, it's either going to be today or tomorrow, yeah, I'll leave it at that, I think. So we've had a look at a good few. I mean, there's a top shelf there, there's one tucked down there, and the Cyclia cordigera, which we've looked at recently. So I'll pull the others in. In fact, most of what's up on that shelf were in my little display for my GVOS 2020 thing. So we looked at those yesterday, basically. So yeah, it's not exactly urgent to see them again today, is it? We look at them then. Did I do a film that Saturday? Yeah, it's Sunday today. Yeah. So yeah. So thanks for dropping by, chatting away about all sorts of nothingness, and a look at some of the Cattleyas in the holy clay pots. And what I might well do is actually pick up on the ones we didn't look at today and bring the mounted ones in at the same time and do that as a separate video. So not necessarily watering them, but you know, a look and a chat about them. So see you next time. Don't forget, put some time aside. Those videos for that event are there now. They're not all going to get watched now, and if you watch too many at once, you'll stop. You'll end up getting fed up with the activity, and then some won't get watched. So have a little go every now and again. You think, right, I'm going to go in, bearing in mind most of them are a minute long, you know, I'm going to put 10 minutes aside and go and watch another 10 or another 15, you know, or something like that. Do it in smaller chunks. You won't get so fed up so quickly then. Because any activity repeated does become tedious eventually. Okay, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.